All right, y'all, welcome to the show. We got a lot to get to today, so in just a second, I have Elon Musk's chilling response as a judge comes out and blocks his attempted coup. There's a lot to say about that. There's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. We'll dive into every single piece of it. Then we'll get to a little interesting development because many of Elon Musk's fans are turning on him, and I'll tell you exactly why. We'll get to the Democrats and my inevitable conclusion about the leadership of the Democrats, particularly Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. But bottom line is, with some of these new developments, they got to go. They got to go. If we want any prayer to fight back against this MAGA onslaught, they have no place in this. No place whatsoever. Never mind leading it. So we'll get into that. We have a dire warning issued by the group Anonymous to MAGA. That's a phenomenal video. Trump's crypto scam keeps getting worse. We have measles and tuberculosis and all sorts of viruses and illnesses breaking out across this country. And then later on, Joe Rogan literally has no idea what the hell he's talking about, and I'm going to prove it to you. I mean, yet again, every time this guy opens his mouth, it's absolutely humiliating, and I'm going to break it down for you in a million different ways. So you'll see he is the opposite of an authority on stuff when it comes to politics, but we'll get to all that in a second. I'm sure all you guys saw the Super Bowl last night. I don't know who the bigger loser was. Was it the Kansas City Chiefs, or was it Drake? I'm kind of leaning Drake. And all the Republicans hated the Kendrick Lamar halftime performance, but I gotta be honest, I was a little surprised by that because even Tomato Lorenzo pointed out, hey, he didn't do any BLM stuff. He didn't bash the cops. There was no left-wing virtue signaling, or at least not openly obvious left-wing virtue signaling. But, it's rap. It's rap. And we know how Republicans are. And the funniest part, you had Matt Gaetz said this was the deep state's plan to get back at Trump. Meanwhile, of course, Kendrick Lamar was picked for the Super Bowl halftime show before Trump even won the election. Moron. You have Matt Walsh, who was shitting on it. You have Ted Nugent, who was shitting on it. What do all of those people have in common? Matt Gaetz, Ted Nugent, Matt Walsh. Stop and think about it. Matt Gaetz famously said that women are most fertile when they're 16 years old. Yikes. So you're going to be angry at the song that goes after the fredophiles. Okay, all right. Ted Nugent, many accusations. Literally on his Wikipedia page, there's a portion of allegations of him getting with underage girls. And of course, Matt Gaetz has a bunch of accusations in that department. So, you're telling on yourselves, bro. You're telling on yourselves. But anyway, I digress from that. We got a lot of stuff to get to. Everybody do me a big favor. Please subscribe to the channel. That helps out big time. Costs you absolutely nothing. And of course, much love to all of you who support this show on Patreon. Couldn't do it without you guys. And thank you for those of you who tip on YouTube. Same thing. Couldn't do it without you. We're real independent media, not fake independent media. You've never seen me do an ad read, and you never will. You guys fund this through small dollar donations, and we have the default ads on YouTube. Very proud of that model that we built. All right, let's go ahead and dive into it. So, as you all know, as I've described to you about 40 times now, Elon Musk has illegally hacked the Treasury, and he's been attempting to, or just outright, deleting agencies and programs that he doesn't like, where he claims they're fraud in this thing, and there's waste and abuse, and we got to stop it. Literally across the board, every time he said those things, he's just making stuff up. Let's just be clear about that, right? That's number one. Number two, even if it was true, he doesn't have the ability to do what he's doing. The way it works is Congress has the power of the purse, the House passes something, the Senate passes something, the president signs it, that's it. There is no hey, some rando at the Treasury Department can decide, I'm against this, and block it. That would give some bureaucrat the ability to usurp the power of Congress and the president. It's crazy. And he's not even in in a real government agency. But again, even if he was, it would still be, this is wildly not allowed, right? Guess what? As I told you this was going to happen. Any court in America, left, right, or center, any court, is even freaking Aileen Cannon, the biggest MAGA hack judge on the planet, they would look at this and they would say, you definitely can't do this. No, can't have it, right? So guess what? Here we go. Judge Nichols has issued his written order formalizing his decision to block the Trump administration from putting 2,200 U.S. aid workers on leave tonight. He also orders the reinstatement of 500 workers previously put on leave. Nichols has also blocked the expedited repatriation of 1,400 Foreign Service officers ordered as part of the dismantling of U.S. aid. Nichols said, quote, administrative leave in Syria is not the same as administrative leave in Bethesda. Nichols emphasized that when he asked Trump administration lawyers to explain why it had to quickly put 2,200 workers on paid leave, they had no answer. Quote, beyond asserting, without any record support, that USAID writ large was possibly engaging in corruption and fraud. Guys, they are using Twitter arguments in a courtroom. They're using Twitter arguments. There's corruption and fraud. Okay, well, as I pointed out, even if that were true, which it's not, they lie about it relentlessly, but even if it were true, you don't have the authority to go on the back and, I don't like this, I'm going to delete this. That's not how it works. That's not how this country works. Nichols stopped short of doing one thing the employees wanted, reopening the funding spigot. He said the supposed harms caused to workers by the freeze on spending programs was too hypothetical to justify emergency relief. So, in other words, this decision goes 80% of the way to where it should go, but it does fall about 20% short. And then we also get this update from Sam Stein. The administration is complying with the U.S. aid court order in case that was in doubt. They got this email from a source, and then the email basically says, like, because of the decision of the court, a lot of the things we said are not going into place. There's also mass chaos at these places, and if you work there, you're probably feeling like, well, I don't want to fucking deal with this. I don't want to deal with this roller coaster. I don't want to hear, you don't have a job, you have a job. Your funding's getting cut. It's not getting cut. Your salary's going down. It's not going to, like, you're putting these people under a lot of stress, right? And so I wouldn't be surprised if some of them want to leave the field anyway based off just how much Trump and Musk are fucking with it. But this is one example. This is one example of exactly what I said would happen, did happen. That, like, any judge in America would say, what the fuck are you, like, what is this? So apparently this judge was a Trump judge. As I said, left, right, center, doesn't matter. They're all going to say the same thing. When something is this clearly illegal, it's not close. All right, so that was one court decision. Guess what? We have another one. A federal court in the Southern District of New York has directly ordered the president and Secretary of Treasury to immediately restrain from granting access to Treasury systems to these rando fucks picked by Elon, and ordered them to direct the randos to delete any copies of materials they've made. So as you all know, they put in a private server and were jacking all of the information from the Treasury, $6 trillion in spending, everybody's social security number, everybody's bank account. They put a private server in and jacked the information. And this guy's saying, whoa. No, you need to immediately ban these people from accessing the Treasury, and whatever data you got, you have to delete it. You have to delete it. Okay, so look, so far, so good. Everything that's happening is exactly what I said would happen in this scenario. Now, here's where it takes a dark turn. You ready? This was before the election. This was J.D. Vance before the election. I think this was even before he was picked as VP. But understand something, guys. His intellectual and philosophical and policy daddy is a guy by the name of Curtis Yarvin, who's basically a far-right intellectual who has all these crazy ideas about how the government should run. And one aspect of that is the unitary executive theory being back in place. Namely, hey, let's just have a CEO dictator. We don't really believe in democracy anymore. In fact, this guy's openly anti-democracy. Again, this is who J.D. Vance idolizes and looks up to and agrees with. So here's what he said before the election about what should happen in a scenario like this, where the executive decides to do something or Elon Musk decides to do something, and then the courts say, sorry, you can't do that. That's clearly illegal. Listen.
We should just seize the administrative state for our own purposes. Fire every single mid-level bureaucrat, every civil servant in the administrative state, replace them with our people. And then when the courts stop you, stand before the country like Andrew Jackson did and say the Chief Justice has made his ruling, now let him enforce it. A lot of conservatives have said we should deconstruct the administrative state. We should basically eliminate the administrative state. And I'm sympathetic to that project, but another option is that we should just seize the administrative state for our own purposes. We should fire all of the people. I mean, I think Trump is going to run again in 2024. I think he'll probably win again in 2024. I think that what Trump should do, like if I was giving him one piece of advice, fire every single mid-level bureaucrat, every civil servant in the administrative state, replace them with our people. And when the courts, because you will get taken to court, And then when the courts stop you, stand before the country like Andrew Jackson did and say the Chief Justice has made his ruling, now let him enforce it.
So this guy, Curtis Yarvin, believes in an acronym called RAGE. It stands for Retire All Government Employees. And as you hear, he says, look, if the courts disagree with you, just be like, bitch, you have no enforcement mechanism. We're just not going to listen. We're just not going to listen. Okay, ready? J.D. Vance comes out after this decision, this multiple decisions, I should say, where they're like, guys, this is insanely illegal. Cut it out, right? He says, if a judge tried to tell a general how to conduct a military operation, that would be illegal. If a judge tried to command the attorney general in how to use her discretion as a prosecutor, that's also illegal. Judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate power. Well, JD, who determines what is and isn't legitimate power? That's what's at question here, right? Basically what he's doing is he's saying Marbury versus Madison and judicial review, throw it out. Throw it out. They have zero input. If the executive decides something, it's final. No checks and balances when it comes to the executive. Now, look, is there a situation where you can imagine it logically makes sense where the president is actually on the side of the law and the court is not? Yeah, we've seen that a number of times where there was this version of judicial supremacy that took over where they strike down legitimate rulings from the president or from Congress, right? But this is not that. Nothing has ever been more clear vis-a-vis the law, vis-a-vis the Constitution, vis-a-vis the way everything is supposed to function. This is not an example of judicial overreach. This is an example of judicial accurateness, judicial correctness. All right, but we're not done. So that was J.D. Vance. He said that. Here's another one right here, y'all. Mike Lee, the senator, comes out and says, this has the feel of a coup, not a military coup, but a judicial one. So he looks at Elon Musk illegally hacking around in all government agencies, having access when he shouldn't, and he goes, right on, we love that. But a judge goes, hey man, this isn't legal, this isn't constitutional. He says, this is a coup. Elon Musk replies to that tweet and says, yes. So now you have the vice president of the United States saying, defy the courts. You have Elon Musk saying, yeah, this is a coup, we should probably defy it. Oh boy. Oh boy. It's getting dark. It's getting dark real quick. Now, the right is saying, well, hold on now. There were times that Joe Biden tried to defy the courts. And the example that they use is student loan debt reduction. So here's why they're 100% wrong on that. Joe Biden tried one avenue, and the Supreme Court said, well, that's not legal. So he completely stopped that legal avenue with that legal justification. And he said, well, there's other ways we can justify legally doing student loan debt reduction. So we tried a different avenue to get it done. And when it was struck down by the court, right, they complied completely. Go ask anybody who was supposed to get, it was like universal $10,000 in student loan debt that was supposed to go to people. They didn't get that. They didn't get that because the Supreme Court slapped it down and he said, okay, we have to comply with that, but we're going to try a different avenue. And also, by the way, let me point out, this actually is an example where it's judicial supremacy and they are incorrect in their reading of the law. If you go read, I believe it's the 1965 Higher Education Act, it is very clear in very plain language. They say the Secretary of Education has the right to do whatever they want with the debt that the federal government holds, the student debt that the federal government holds. And the federal government holds like 95% or thereabouts of student loan debt. If they want to wipe the slate clean, they have every legal right to do that. So that actually was an example of judicial overreach, right? But having said that, even with the example of judicial overreach, Biden didn't continue extrajudicially. He decided, well, we got to listen to what they said, and then he tried a different legal avenue in order to get it done. So there is zero comparison between the two things. And oftentimes, by the way, if I'm being honest, there are times where the Supreme Court is wildly incorrect, and it does make sense to say, okay, stop me. And you can't stop me because you have no enforcement mechanism. The difference is, on this issue, both legally and substantively, the court is completely correct, and the Republicans are wrong. That's the bottom line, right? I mean, look, the only positive thing that could ever come out of what we're looking at here is if Elon and Trump set the precedent of, hey man, what the courts say is a matter of opinion. Okay. All right. You want to lay that precedent? How about the next time we get an actually based president, an FDR-like president, and they decide, yeah, we did Medicare for all, and they tried to slap it down, but we don't give a fuck. It's legally correct, it's constitutional, and it's good for the American people, so they can fuck right off. Again, if you want to lay the precedent, lay the precedent. This actually happened, I believe it was in Iran with Ahmadinejad. The president had like limited powers in Iran, but then when he took office, he started like kind of going wild and doing whatever he wanted. And then that laid the precedent of, okay, presidents in Iran can do a lot, right? And so it's like, careful what you wish for. But again, at the same time, the difference is the court is completely correct both legally and substantively here. So it makes sense to be on their side. And I told you guys, I mentioned this a few weeks back, that it's going to be a weird scenario where we're in, where Democrats and liberals and leftists will actually be cheering for the courts. We will be cheering for the courts because they will be more responsible, more correct, and more substantive than whatever this rogue regime is trying to do. And we're literally witnessing that right now. Guys, they had all these detailed plans, these Project 2025 plans where they come in and they go about trying to dismantle the administrative state the proper way. And guess what? Elon comes in like a bull in a china shop. All the plans are thrown out the window. He goes at 100 miles an hour. And now he's getting them into positions where there are no legal arguments to back up what they're doing. So if we're lucky, it can massively backfire on them. But again, you're running the risk of them being like, fuck off. Like, think about it, guys. A guy who came here, Elon Musk, as an illegal immigrant, according to his brother, right? The world's richest robber baron who exploits his workers. Welfare queen because he takes billions of dollars in subsidies from us. And now he gets to do whatever the fuck he wants and override the courts and even usurp the president's power and usurp Congress's power. We're up shit's creek without a paddle, dog. That's where we are. Now, finally, I just want to point out here that even if you agree, which it literally makes no sense to take this position, it's like the dumbest position I've ever heard. But even if you think like, I actually like what Elon Musk is doing, so I support it, right? You need to understand something. Everything he's basing these actions on are completely fraudulent. He is a pathological liar who cannot stop pathologically lying on his timeline. That's when he's not positively responding to Nazi accounts and pro-apartheid Boer accounts, which he was doing over the past couple days, by the way. But I'll give you a couple examples. So look at this. Somebody says to Elon, how does the head of USAID make $23 million in 4 years? And Elon replies to it, right? And the implication here is, can you believe all this waste, fraud, and abuse? Look at what they're doing. They're robbing us. USAID is a criminal organization. Ready? Here's the reality. The USAID administrator's salary is publicly available. It's $225,000 a year. Over 4 years, that's $900,000. Not $23 million. Federal officials are subject to strict financial disclosures. If you have proof of this wild claim, post it. Otherwise, it's just more, trust me, bro, nonsense. So again, a pathological lie that he shares with everybody. And, you know, people look at this and they go, oh yeah, I support what this guy's doing. He can't even get the facts straight. He can't even get the fucking facts straight. Okay, more. Because he's lying. Again, he's lying. It's not like he probably knows that they make $225,000 a year, right? And it's not $23 million over 4 years. How about this one? How the fuck were all caps, of course. How the fuck were illegal immigrants getting $59 million to stay in luxury hotels in New York when FEMA tried to kick out 3,000 Hurricane Helene victims in Western North Carolina out of hotels in the winter? Can someone please explain this to me? And Elon says, it is outrageous. Okay, here's the reality. Boom. To be super clear, FEMA was the one paying for the hurricane victims to be in hotels. They just make shit up. And it's all in service of rage, retire all government employees. It's all in service of this anarcho-capitalist, anti-government fundamentalism because Elon Musk looks up to Javier Milei in Argentina. Well, what did Javier Milei deliver us? A 53% poverty rate in Argentina. This is why Elon admitted when the election was happening, yeah, we're going to have some temporary hardship. We're going to have some temporary pain. Because he doesn't give a fuck about what you're going through. He doesn't give a fuck about regular Americans who need to pay the fucking light bill and feed their family. All he cares about is cutting government to the bone for you while allowing himself to continue to get tens of billions of dollars in corporate welfare and government subsidies. Socialism for me, but not for thee. Me and my robber baron buddies get to run out the back door with all the money, and you can fucking starve and die, and I don't give a shit. And here's 78 lies to bolster my case. We're going to talk about this in a little bit, but I gotta say right now, Elon Musk is mentally ill. I hope everybody understands that. In the same way that like people look at Kanye having like colossal meltdowns and everybody just acts like, you know, this is normal, right? For him, it is normal. But like The way that society's reacting to it, we saw like the Groypers sucking off Kanye because he was praising Hitler again or whatever. Like the collective reaction to it, this is a deeply sick society where we look at somebody who's obviously severely bipolar and paranoid schizophrenic, and it's just like, meh, you shrug your shoulders. Nobody tries to help him. Nobody tries to get him on his meds. Right? That's sick. But this goes above and beyond that because Kanye at this point is just a rando. Right? Elon Musk is illegally hacking around in the Treasury and deleting whatever he wants to delete and flouting the idea of we're going to ignore court orders. And he's mentally ill. So his response here was chilling because the judge blocked his coup and now they're already flirting with like, maybe we won't listen. Buckle up, y'all. Buckle up. By the way, anybody who's not calling this what it is, never take their opinion on anything ever again. You understand? If people are not calling this, at the very least, already a constitutional crisis, but in reality, the real terminology should be, this is a coup. If they're not calling it that, dismiss their opinion. Because they are engaging, either purposefully or not, in the normalization of this insanity, of this rogue regime power grab. Everybody needs to understand that. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.